Good evening. We're going to start now. Thank you for coming here and joining us at these hearings. My name is Amy Fisher, and I'm the General Counsel of the Port Authority, and I'm this evening's hearing officer. With me to my right is Chairman Kevin O'Toole, and to his right is Vice Chairman Jeffrey Linford. They serve on the Board of Commissioners for the Port Authority, and that's the agency's governing body. We're holding this hearing for public comment because the Port Authority is considering changes in tolls and fares for the use of our vehicular tunnels and bridges and for passenger rail facilities. We've prepared materials to assist in explaining the adjustments, including a written handout which can be found at the entrance to this floor off the elevator entrance where you came in. We will also shortly show a presentation describing the adjustments. If there's something in the presentation you'd like to hear again, it can be accessed on the Port Authority's website at panyj.gov/public hearings, one word, as well. We're interested in what you have to say today. Comments today will be limited to 3 minutes per person. The commissioners are here to listen, but there won't be a back and forth dialogue with them today. We have a clock to keep track of things so we know when the 3-minute time limit has been reached, and you will get a warning of a bell when you're getting close toward the end of your comment time. If you'd like to provide additional comments after this hearing, there are a number of ways for you to do that. First, you can go to our website, again, panyj.gov/public hearings, one word, and make written comment there. You may also mail written comments directly to the Public Hearing Comments, Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, 4 World Trade Center, 23rd floor, New York, New York, 10007. In addition, you may provide comments regarding these matters at the December 12, 2024 Board of Commissioners meeting, which will be held at 2 Montgomery Street, Jersey City, New Jersey, and is scheduled to begin at approximately 1 p.m. I would check that time on our website. All public comments made in any form on the matters described above will be transcribed and also summarized by the Port Authority staff and retained by the Port Authority for consideration by the full Board of Commissioners. Thank you again for participating today. The hearing will begin after this presentation.
The Port Authority of New York and New Jersey was created more than a century ago to oversee the movement of goods through New York Harbor. Today, it operates an unparalleled transportation system across air, land, rail, and sea that drives the region's growth and prosperity. That legacy continues. As we move into our second century, we're reimagining what's possible by making once-in-a-generation investments to transform critical infrastructure. Replacement of the aging Midtown bus terminal continues to move forward, with federal and local approvals advancing and early works construction contracts approved. We're implementing the EWR Vision Plan, which will reimagine Newark Liberty International Airport following the successful opening of its new award-winning $2.7 billion Terminal A, winner of Skytrack's 2023 Best New Terminal in the World Award, among other accolades. We're replacing the outdated AirTrain Newark with a modern, reliable system and opening a publicly accessible entry point to the Newark Airport Rail Station, particularly beneficial for underserved Newark and Elizabeth neighborhoods. We deliver to the region a whole new, award-winning, world-class $8 billion LaGuardia Airport, named Forbes 2024 Best U.S. Airport and recipient of numerous prestigious accolades. We're completely rebuilding JFK with a $19 billion investment, $15 billion privately financed without public funds, a world-class gateway for a world-class region, opening 2026. We're enhancing PATH's reliability, capacity, and customer experience through the Comprehensive Path Forward Plan, a $430 million 2-year initiative to overhaul signals, tracks, and stations. We're rebuilding the entire roadway at Port Newark's main artery, reducing congestion and accidents. We're revitalizing and re-energizing the World Trade Center site in Lower Manhattan with the opening of the new Performing Arts Center, and a slew of events and activations across the campus have established it as a vibrant community destination. We're focusing on our commitment to achieve net zero greenhouse gas emissions by 2050 through initiatives to electrify the agency's vehicular fleet, prioritize decarbonization of legacy infrastructure, and aggressively implement greener technologies and practices. As the Port Authority executes on a historic capital plan, the agency is winning accolades from customers and critics alike, bringing critical transformations across the finish line and making tangible progress on major projects that have stagnated for decades. This once-in-a-generation overhaul of the region's infrastructure is strengthening the region's global competitiveness while creating tens of thousands of good-paying local jobs and improving the travel experience for hundreds of millions of people annually.
As the Port Authority executes on its historic capital plan, the agency is winning accolades from customers and critics alike, bringing critical facility transformations across the finish line and making tangible progress on major infrastructure projects that had stagnated for decades. Since the adoption of the agency's $37 billion 10-year capital plan, the Port Authority has achieved significant milestones, including the completion of a whole new LaGuardia Airport, recently named 2024 Best U.S. Airport by Forbes Travel Guide, the completion of Newark Liberty International Airport's new Terminal A, which opened in 2023 to global accolades, including Best New Airport Terminal in the World by Skytrax, a global aviation ratings firm, the raising of the Bayonne Bridge, the completion of a new Goethals Bridge, and the substantial fulfillment of the Port Authority's responsibilities for the redevelopment of the World Trade Center campus, which is being fully revitalized in partnership with other public and private sector partners. In 2025, we are investing $3.6 billion in capital spending to fund major projects, including JFK Airport's $19 billion transformation into a world-class gateway, the completion of the $2 billion Restoring the George program, and the $430 million Path Forward investment to upgrade critical infrastructure, including railcars, bridges, tracks, and switches to make the system more reliable and efficient. Additionally, it will fund preliminary planning and substantial work to launch the next set of priority projects, including the multi-phase replacement of the Midtown Bus Terminal while continuing existing operations, the total replacement of the outmoded AirTrain Newark, and the implementation of the EWR Vision Plan to completely reimagine Newark Liberty International Airport. Unlike similar agencies that operate and maintain critical infrastructure, the Port Authority does not receive any tax revenue from the states of New York or New Jersey. The Port Authority is a self-funded agency with revenue generated in part from third-party fees, rentals, and other charges to businesses operating at its facilities. The agency works aggressively to generate maximal revenues from non-toll and non-fare sources. While 65% of projected 2025 operating revenues will come from non-toll and non-fare sources, revenue changes from a package of toll and fare adjustments are proposed by the agency for implementation in 2025. The proposed adjustments are needed for two reasons. First, to address the $3 billion revenue loss caused by the COVID-19 pandemic and related inflationary pressures that have increased the cost of operations and cost of capital projects across the construction industry. And second, to continue to invest in the ambitious capital agenda for the agency's tunnel, bridge, terminal, and path facilities as laid out in the 2017 to 2026 capital plan. The following toll adjustment proposals cover the George Washington Bridge, Lincoln Tunnel, Holland Tunnel, Goethals Bridge, Outer Bridge Crossing, and Bayonne Bridge. Tolls at all Port Authority crossings are collected only from eastbound traffic. The Port Authority is proposing a 25-cent toll increase for autos, motorcycles, and trucks, effective January 5th, 2025. The proposal also recommends that the board authorize 25-cent increases above the annual automatic inflation-based toll adjustments for autos, motorcycles, and trucks in each of the next 3 years. These adjustments preserve lower rates through Easy Pass and other discounts, including the Staten Island Bridges Plan. Another proposed change would eliminate an off-peak truck volume discount that affects approximately 0.4% of truck accounts. To give drivers time to plan, this change will not be effective until July 6, 2025. To incentivize enrollment in the Easy Pass program and encourage the proper use of transponders, the proposal includes two changes to existing toll rates, which will affect only 10 to 15% of drivers. Increased use of Easy Pass will significantly improve the efficiency of toll collection. The proposal increases the Easy Pass discount and delays the implementation date to July 6, 2025, to allow for an intense communications campaign to urge drivers to enroll in Easy Pass and use their transponders correctly to take advantage of the increased Easy Pass discount and significant Easy Pass savings. A new reduced fare program is proposed for path riders with qualifying disabilities. Passengers who qualify under this program would pay the same reduced fare rate as a senior citizen or $1.50 per ride, effective once the new TAP fare system is fully operational, which is estimated for summer 2025. The proposed changes are expected to generate approximately $150 million in additional annual revenue when fully implemented to support investments in the interstate transportation network, which includes the Path Rail system as well as the region's bridges, tunnels, and terminals. Thank you for attending this public hearing. The Port Authority Board of Commissioners values your input. In addition to comments submitted here, the Port Authority will be accepting public comments on its website and via the mail through December 9th, 2024. Comments can also be provided at the December 12th board meeting.
Okay, we will now begin the public hearing portion of this meeting. We will start with the in-person speakers, followed by the virtual speakers. So the first person is Dr. Sharon McLennan-Weir.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Dr. Weir. I'm the Executive Director for the Center for Independence of the Disabled, New York, Sydney. I'm here to advocate for people with disabilities. We know that 28.6% of Americans living in the United States have a documented disability. We also know that approximately 1.5 million people in New York City have a documented disability. We also know that people with disabilities live 36% below the poverty line. I am here to support that the half-fare payment process for the PATH train be approved. We know that this mandate, this service, New Yorkers receive that on the MTA subway, as well as seniors, on the Long Island Railroad, and also on Metro North. Actually, passing this would allow for people with disabilities to engage in actually taking the service. So it would increase ridership and also increase affordability. I would like you to look at what the MTA have done in regards to the Fair Fares program, to also allow for people that are living below $60,000 a year be entitled to receive this service. As you know, people living in New York City and other parts of New Jersey, we live in a very high income area, and it makes it really hard to afford the day-to-day living. Allowing people that have a low income to benefit in these programs could increase ridership and also increase our economy. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much. Eliana Little.
Hi, good evening. My name is Elena Little. I'm a resident of downtown Jersey City and a candidate for City Council in Ward E. I'm here tonight to call for more funding of the PATH and for more frequent and reliable trains, especially during off-peak hours. Unfortunately, it feels too often that PATH is treated like an afterthought or a suburban commuter rail when 40% of households in Jersey City do not have access to a car. In fact, the 3 cities in the country with the lowest rates of car ownership, New York, Newark, and Jersey City, are all connected by the path. When I talk to my neighbors in Ward E in downtown Jersey City, path service is consistently one of their top complaints. Commuters at rush hour shouldn't need to wait for multiple trains to pass by before they can squeeze on one. The trains should be more frequent. And since so many of us don't have cars, we use the path for more than just our commutes. We use it to get to everything from social activities, cultural events, to doctor's appointments. And if you're trying to catch a train at off-peak hours or on the weekends, you're going to have to wait sometimes up to 40 minutes. And this is just, it's really upsetting and really difficult for people to rely on an urban transit system with that length of wait. And it results in unsafe overcrowding. Personally, I often take the Amtrak between Newark and Baltimore, where my sister lives, and which means that I'm often taking the path at off-peak hours between Jersey City and Newark. And more often than I'd like to admit, I've had to take a lift between Jersey City and Newark Penn Station because there were, delays on the path that would have caused me to miss my Amtrak. Also, I would urge the Port Authority to consider ways to eliminate the Hoboken layover, as I like to call it, on nights and weekends. If you happen to work nights or weekends, you should be afforded the same dignity as a 9-to-5 office worker in getting to work. You shouldn't have to add 5 to 10 minutes to your commute while the train is sitting in Hoboken. Another issue with PATH that I would love to see more funding for is accessibility. So often the elevators or escalators are out of service for extended periods of time, and the elevator/lift situation at the Grove Street Path is hostile to people with disabilities or parents with strollers. I do want to thank you for focusing the proposed fare increases on bridges and tunnels and not on PATH. With car transportation being a major component of the climate crisis, it's important that we don't do anything to disincentivize public transit. So please, I urge you to dedicate more funding to improving PATH service frequency and reliability. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Christopher Greif. Carol Chen.
Hi, my name is Carol, like a Christmas carol, and I'm a New York transplant who has lived here for the past 5 years. And I moved to this world-famous city, partly attracted to its world-famous public transportation system. So I'm here tonight to speak about an issue that's related to the fare hikes, but an arguably more urgent and painful issue for, especially I think, New Jersey residents, namely the frequency of the PATH trains on the weekend, especially on weekend nights. So my advocacy for the PATH train station schedule really started this July when I arrived at the PATH station here on Wall Street at, I think it was 10:30 p.m. on a Friday night, so a perfectly reasonable hour to be out, only to find that the next train back to Grove Street, where I lived at the time, was 40 minutes away. And even worse, the bathrooms were all closed, and I desperately needed to pee. So I was just waiting there hopelessly and fuming at the station along with many, many strangers who felt equally frustrated. So instead of just fuming for 40 minutes, I decided to write a petition and, do something productive with my anger at the time. So I wrote a change.org petition just to vent my personal frustrations. But I would never expect that it would get nearly 1,200 signatures in less than 2 weeks with minimal canvassing, with not really that much promotion. I would sometimes print out a copy just to go around when I'm waiting for the PATH, literally, to ask people to sign. And yeah, it also picked up major media attention as it was covered by 3 local media outlets. And I also got many personal emails saying how much they echoed my frustration and how much, people really cared about this. It was just interesting that we lived in probably the 2 most cosmopolitan and populated areas in the world. And we were waiting 40 minutes for a ride that only takes 5 minutes in between. And comparing that to MTA's 24-hour schedule and how subways mostly run every 45 minutes at night, sometimes it runs 7-10 minutes apart, but it's nothing comparing to 40 minutes. That's enough time to, write an essay. So I don't think that's very acceptable. So I'm here to ask for the agency to prioritize the frequency, increasing the frequency of the PATH trains on weekend nights, and never let someone like me have to hold in my pee for 40 minutes again. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Jesse Halpern?
Good evening. My name is Jesse, a Jersey City resident and frequent path rider. The Port Authority has contributed a significant sum to the construction of the Amtrak Gateway Tunnel project under the Hudson River, which will be transformative for the region. And while this may not directly benefit the Port Authority's bottom line, I commend very strongly the Port Authority for recognizing the impact that improved passenger rail service will have on the region. Other major infrastructure investments made by the Port Authority for bringing people into the region include, as you all know, of course, the modern airport terminals at Newark, LaGuardia, and soon JFK, and the Port Authority bus terminal replacement that has, had several media press releases lately. Again, the money is well spent, and are actions that the Port Authority should and does take great pride in. I now ask that the Port Authority take the next logical step, investing in infrastructure to move people within the region. I am, of course, talking about the PATH train. Consider the following. Jersey City is New Jersey's second most populous city, just 7 miles from Newark Liberty Airport, and yet it is significantly faster and more convenient for Jersey City residents to access the airport by car than by transit. Many other world-class airports do not have this problem. While not part of the typical rush hour schedule, weekends are effectively rush periods for the region. However, these periods are made unsafe by the overcrowding conditions present at Exchange Place Station, and I encourage the Port Authority to review the CCTV footage to see for themselves. It's a little rough. Lastly, the Port Authority has announced several sustainability initiatives, and while I commend the Port Authority for taking some steps to reduce emissions, the biggest step the Port Authority can take to demonstrate its commitment to sustainability is to expand PATH service, both its footprint and service frequencies. The PATH train is our region's path to sustainability. And I'll say that again for any reporters looking for sound bites. The PATH train is our region's path to sustainability. When I go to Trenton to complain to the Garden State's leaders, I want to feel confident that my complaining is environmentally friendly and not subject to overcrowding conditions. When I travel to diners within the diner state, I want to be thinking about the greasy smells of the diner I am heading to, not the greasy smells of my fellow commuters on the overcrowded platforms on a hot, humid summer day. For these reasons, I ask that the Port Authority allocate its budget to increasing PATH service and to the extension to Newark Liberty Airport. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Courtney Walker? James Lee?
Good evening. My name is Jimmy Lee. I'm a resident of Jersey City, and I'm on the board of Safe Streets Jersey City, an organization working on preventing traffic crashes and working towards Vision Zero in Jersey City. I want to start off with saying thank you for the recent safety improvements outside of the Holland Tunnel on 12th Street in Jersey City. 12th and 14th Street are feeder roads to the Holland Tunnel that many drivers will give not a second thought to, but they are homes to residents and divide two of the most walkable cities in New Jersey, in Jersey City and Hoboken. Since there's no longer queuing for tolls, these narrowing of the crossings are a good start, and I urge you to keep going. I also want to thank the Port Authority for being a signer of the Paris Climate Agreement. We just experienced a period of unprecedented drought, and in recent years, the opposite in unprecedented rains and flooding. It is important our region do our part in facing the challenge of the climate crisis. However, I do want to point out that from a sustainability perspective, the port's own usage of carbon is not how the Port Authority will have the greatest impact on sustainability. In some cases, it could even have the opposite effect, such as LEED certification at the Teterboro Airport or putting solar panels on the roofs there. even giving a false impression to the rich and famous that their private jets are somehow now sustainable. Instead, the focus should be on measuring the carbon emissions of its users, from airports to trains to tunnels to freight rail. And I urge that the Port Authority revisit their sustainability goals and measurements to be inclusive of users, not just of the facilities themselves. The greatest EVs the Port Authority has are the PATH train, and the buses that use the Port Authority facilities are low carbon as well. So it is with this bit of context, I want to ask for a wholesale pause in the current proposed PATH budget and to think about how the port can maximize service and reduce polluting forms of travel. I ask for extensions to bus lane hours, and I would propose starting out with adding 2 hours a day and considering Saturday and Sunday dedicated bus lane hours as well. In Hoboken, Park Ave, there's also a short dedicated bus lane tunnel. It's sometimes on, sometimes off. Can't really figure out what the system is there, and I urge you to make it 24/7. Last, I want to ask for urgency with moving forward with the Cross Harbor Freight Rail project. Trucks on our state and local roadways cause enormous challenges, from pollution to road safety to congestion, and freight rail is a much more sustainable form of transportation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. John Tarano? You don't want to speak? No. Okay. Oh, no problem. Okay, is there anyone else in the room who I haven't called that wishes to speak? Okay, I'll go to the phones then. Adrian Gainda? No. David Zidzik? Courtney Walker, are you on the phone? Andy Weiss? Christine Liberatore?
Yes, I'm here.
Great.
Hi, thank you so much for having this meeting today. Those who spoke before me really raised some amazing points, and I agree with all of those points. I think for me personally, as a Jersey City resident, I think expanding service during nights and weekends would be really helpful for workers, students, for everyone. So I would really love to see that happen, and really appreciate y'all having this meeting today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Tony Borelli?
Thank you, Tony Borelli, resident of Jersey City for 27 and a half years, vice president of Bike JC, bicycle and generally transportation advocacy group. But I do speak for myself here. First, I'd like to say that, and there's a but, I basically approve of everything that is being done and is being planned for PATH. My problem is that none of it is nearly enough. I incorporate in full all the comments of a previous speaker, Elena Little, regarding inadequate off-peak service, which I see as perhaps the biggest problem that PATH has right now in serving, as she mentioned, vulnerable and growing populations that use that service. You know, I literally would not have moved to Jersey City over a quarter century ago and contributed to its economy, its culture, its civic life, social life, anything, if it weren't for what PATH was offering me and promising me and others, which is that we basically have the kind of city that never sleeps, 24/7, 365 urban rail service that similarly dense areas in New York have. And we used to have it, or more of it than we do now, as far as I can tell. And in my personal experience, you know, I've seen headways when there isn't construction, or at least frequencies get worse. And, you know, we hear about disasters. I watched the Twin Towers fall and I saw another tower go up in its place. I was here for Sandy. I saw things get flooded. I saw things get fixed. But somehow with PATH, there's always something that's lingering that we haven't fixed yet. And, you know, even what's planned, Path Forward and the Newark Airport things, I think that's great, but we should be growing by leaps and bounds to match what's happening all across Hudson County. And it's at its best, that's not happening. I understand at the end of the day, resourcing is a huge part of this, and it's supposed to be self-sufficient. Well, okay, then that doesn't work. It just doesn't. Something big has to change that will allow this to fulfill the promise that it's always made to Hudson County and that it's breaking. You know, we have a candidate for governor, mayor of Jersey City, says PA shouldn't run PATH. And I'm finding it hard to argue with that. But something big has to change because this is a weak link in the whole economy and transportation system of the entire area. And I appreciate what's being done, but it's not enough. And I don't know exactly what has to change, but something big has to. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Donna Ristarucci? Andy Weiss?
Hi, good evening. The PATH system needs to run more trains, and we need much more service frequency all day long and every weekend. The lack of PATH frequency is completely unacceptable. I mentioned earlier, the TAP fare card needs to be, we need fare integration in this area, in our area, with the MTA and NJ Transit. PATH, MTA, and NJ Transit need one fare card. The TAP fare card uses Cubic. It was designed by Cubic. MTA Omni was designed by Cubic, but they don't talk to each other. NJ Transit is also going alone. So, and one very important thing, the PATH uses Easy Pass. So PATH understands fare integration because drivers use the same fare card up the entire East Coast. They all used Easy Pass, I believe. You know, most of the so the Port Authority understands fare integration for drivers, but they will not do that for public transit. When all of our NJ Transit, PATH, and MTA are right next to each other, 3 separate fare cards. And you know this because the NJTPA has major studies, which you attend the board meetings. You know this. And you're going alone. All 3 are going alone, but you're giving drivers one integrated fare card for the entire East Coast. The Port Authority is really just wasting our money. I just don't understand your thinking. You don't think, you always hurt public transit. You let drivers do anything. You give us one lousy bus lane, and you give 3 other lanes for individual drivers. You don't care about public transit. You want driver money. That's what you want. You want money from drivers per toll. That's your whole game plan. Why is Easy Pass using fare integration with many other states on one card for drivers, but public transit has to use 3 separate fare cards for the MTA, NJ Transit, and PATH? I would love to hear an explanation from PATH. It doesn't make any sense. Just like the way you cut public transit. There's no reason for this. This is just completely unacceptable. You're destroying public transit. You only care about drivers. That's the only thing you care about. You have the worst bus lane in America, overcrowded, and you allow 3 other lanes of drivers that are driving alone past buses that are stuck in traffic. Please do better, and please help us. Thank you.
Thank you. Jason Anthony?
Good evening, everyone. This is Jason Anthony here in Brooklyn. I couldn't agree more with the other participants, and I want to take the opportunity to thank Chair Kevin O'Toole and Vice Chair Linford to give us the opportunity to have once in a century to have the reduced fare on the in the path, because this was done by transit advocates with no intervention of elected officials. And this is one thing that everybody has to understand on both sides of the Hudson. And this was done thanks to Christopher D. Grive, Deborah Grive, myself, and other transit advocates who attend the MTA board meetings and the Port Authority board meetings. Regarding the path fare hike, like I said before, your CFO, Livy McCarthy, sir, should reconsider raising the path fare from $3 to $2.90, because currently the full fare for New York City Transit's bus and subway is currently $2.90. So the reduced fare for the MTA currently is $1.45. So the fare should be, the fare increase should be 10 cents instead of 25 cents. And regarding the toll hikes, I think you guys should reconsider the fact that this toll hike was announced the same day that Governor Hochul announced congestion pricing. That was announced right 1 hour after the fact that Livy McCarthy announced this toll hike that will have a double effect on those who use the Holland Tunnel, the Lincoln Tunnel, and other bridges, but not the George Washington Bridge. So I think you guys should give a little incentive those who go from Manhattan to New Jersey to not be double tolled, and give a little incentive for those who are in the disability community and low income. So that will be my comments for this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Victoria Celli, or Celli? Usman Diallo?
Good evening, distinguished member of the community board. My name is Usman Diallo, and I serve as the Deputy Chief of Staff to Assemblyman Charles D. Fall, representing New York 61st District. I'm here to express our firm opposition to the proposed toll and fare increases by the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, and to advocate for the allocation of additional revenue towards the development of a public park beneath the Beyond Bridge on Staten Island side. While we acknowledge the necessity of maintaining and enhancing the transportation infrastructure, these repeated tolls and fare increases place a disproportionate financial burden on Staten Island residents. Our community relies heavily on this crossing for daily commute, and the cumulative effect of these hikes exacerbates the economic strain on working families, especially amid rising living costs. In the light of the financial impact these increases will have on our community, we propose that a portion of the additional revenue generated be allocated to develop a public park beneath Beyond Bridge on Staten Island North Shore, specifically at 15 Beyond Bridge. This area currently lacks adequate recreational facility in stark contrast of the amenities available just across the Kilven Curl in Bayonne, New Jersey. The Dennis P. Collin Park in Bayonne, located adjacent to the Bayonne Bridge offer residents a state-of-art recreational space with features such as skate park, playground, sport court, and walking path. In comparison, Staten Island North Shore residents have limited access to similar facilities, despite sharing the same geographic area. Developing a park at 15 Bayonne Bridge would provide numerous benefits: enhanced quality of life, offering a dedicated recreational space would promote physical activity, community engagement, and overall a well-being of North Shore residents. Environmental improvement, transforming the underutilized land into green space would contribute to environmental sustainability and beautification of the area. Economic development, a new park could attract visitors, stimulate local businesses, and potentially increase property value in the surrounding neighborhood. While we understand the Port Authority need to address financial challenges and infrastructure demand, it is imperative to consider the disproportionate impact of toll and fare increases on Staten Island residents. We urge the Port Authority to allocate a portion of additional revenue towards the development of public park at 15 Bayonne Bridge, thereby providing North Shore residents with equitable access to recreational amenities comparable to those available in neighborhood community. Thank you for allowing me the time to speak this evening.
Thank you very much. Jesse Figueroa.
Good evening, everybody. Jesse Figueroa here, also from Brooklyn. I am a U.S. Army veteran. On behalf of our veterans with service to our country, we should be entitled to path-reduced fare. That's all I got. Thank you and happy holidays.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else on the phone who would like to speak that I have not called? Tony Borelli spoke. Okay. Is there anyone in the room who I haven't called who would like to speak? Okay, then I will adjourn this meeting. Thank you very much.